Every single problem that you have in your real estate business with your clients is due to your inability to set and manage expectations with your clients. What do you think that means there?
Hey, this is Blake Sloan. I've been selling real estate over 14 years. Our team of highly trained professionals, along with our unmatched marketing, has sold thousands of homes here in the Myrtle Beach area, and this is how we do it.
Third most important one here. Well, this setting is the most important, but this is 101. You got to get really good at this really fast. Okay, where the difference is made at, and where most people lose people at, is right here, which is the managing expectations part. What does that mean, you think? The manage part. I'm controlling the narrative, but it's got to be what? Constant. Because I did my job here, guess what that means? Nothing. Because now I'm in the process, and their emotional response to this entire process puts everything out the window. Until I do what? Go back and remind them about what we talked about, what we had to happen. So for me, I have to make sure here that I'm very, very, very hyper aware at all times. What does that mean, you think?
About things that you say, how they're feeling.
What am I hyper aware of more than anything? I put hyper awareness in my notes here.
How they're feeling about this, how they look feeling.
I'm paying attention to their language. What language are they using? Is it defensive towards me? Is it something that they're in a victim language? If they're using victim language, what does that mean?
Negative.
That they're the victim of you. And I have to be on top of that early on. So most breakdowns come down from what? We're not over communicating. And I wouldn't even say it's just lack of it. So we have to, and I think lack of it is a great definition, but I mean I want you guys to take away from this. When you think you're doing enough communication, guess what? You're not. So it has to be the standard, has to be over communicate, like I'm talking to what? A kid. Because they're a kid that's throwing a tantrum. And so when you talk to a kid that's throwing a tantrum, what happens? Not a whole lot, right? You got to be what? Cool, calm, collected. If my kid's throwing a tantrum and I get angry, what does that do? Nothing, makes it worse, right? And so I want you guys to understand, I got to be very, very good at that. So I want to be hyper-awareness. And why do I say this? Because the earlier I catch it and the earlier I correct it, the less problem it's going to be. Say it again. The earlier I catch it and the earlier I correct it, the less problem it's going to be. So here's the big mistake 9 out of 100 people make for the first few years in real estate. Your spider sense tells you what?
Say so.
There's a problem. You're like, oh, there's a problem. But what do? Nothing, because you're scared. And you're uncomfortable. And you're scared to have a collision in a tough conversation. So what do? You let it go. And it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on. And you hope it's not going to get brought up. But what happens 9 times out of 10? It always gets brought up, and it's way bigger an explosion here. And you think you just got past it, and everything was fine, and all of a sudden this blows up. Why? Because you knew back here that you should have said something. And I stacked this on myself 10 times. How about you guys sometimes? I know something's going on. I can tell your energy's off, and I used to let it go. And guess what? Every single time I let it go, I'd pay the price with interest. All right? So I want you guys to understand, the longer you let go that you need to address with your people, the more you're going to pay in interest. And the problem is that interest is exponential. So I can get it returned here at a 1x problem. But if I'm going to come here, guess what? My problem at that time is what? 5x. And it's 5 times as hard to fix, and in most cases, it's almost impossible to fix. So an example of that lady, I don't really know anything you can do on the front end. I'm just a simple example. At that point, she doesn't want to speak to you. If she doesn't close in this house, what do you think the chance you sell her another house is? 0. Right? 0. And is it fault the guy will move out? No. And so it comes down to what? How do I manage expectations early? And here's the deal. Where this usually comes from, there's not one thing could have done. It's just we let too much go for what? For too long. So I look now for my seller clients or anybody, if they start saying something that's out of line, what do? I jump all over it quickly. Because the more they say it's out of line, that's not true, that's not even close to being true, the more you let them get away with it, the worse it gets. And so my job, and go back, hey look, remember I told you first met? My job is to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Yeah, now is one of those times. Do I have permission to do that with you? Yes. Boom, whatever it is. Hey, that's actually not the case. And I can tell you that's not the case based on X, Y, Z. And so I'm with you. We're on the same team here. But part of that is I'm here to consult you based on what's happening so you make the right decisions. And by the way, this is one of the most emotional purchases or emotional sales of anybody's life. And so you're going to ride the roller coaster of emotion. I do this every single day. I'm a true expert in this. And so my job is to keep you calm and help you think clearly through this process. Does that sound fair enough? Yes. And you go through that way as well. Right? So the next thing I had here is I must, once I catch this, I'm hyper-aware, I must reset it aggressively. Reset aggressively. What does that mean, you think? You got to do it 6 times harder than you think you do. So you start hearing something, you start smelling something, something seems off, you got to address, hey, it seems like something's a little bit off here. You guys, everything okay? Right? I'm sensing something's not right, whatever it is. Make sure we're okay. Remember earlier when we first met, I told you how to communicate with me. You can always tell me anything, everything, because I'm your real estate agent, for life. I want you guys to make sure that we're on the same page. To find there's a lot of misconceptions out there that turn people against their agent when that actually wasn't the case. What was actually just some miscommunication from somebody else. I can simply tell a third-party story and loop them right into it and give them permission to share with me what they need to share. You guys with me on this? Very important. Third thing is they are emotional and they forget everything. Your job, in many cases, is to talk them off the ledge. But you have to have the respect of them still to be able to talk them off the ledge. If you wait till they turn on you, you have no shot in hell of being able to influence them in any way. You guys with me on this? Very important piece here. The fourth thing here is I must remind them constantly and over-explain. And this here is a skill set. Why do you think I say that? It's not natural. You have to make a skill set where you just get into the habit of doing what? Over and over and over and over and over, right? They're not getting the price from you. They're not getting the price from you in 1 or 2 conversations. You have to have 6, 7 conversations. Perfect example, right? Listing side. I'll meet with you guys on Wednesday. And guess what you tell me? They're not dropping their price anymore. They're done. And we're on day 45. What do I know? That's because what happens? They don't lower with you because you don't push anymore because you have a store they're not lowering, and all of a sudden it expires, and they get a cold caller who cold calls in. What do? Drop the price $15,000 the next week with some other agent because the other agent was actually good at articulating what they need to do, and they went through the pain of what you already did. And so I don't want a one-time price reduction. I want to hit them and 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 hit them until all of a sudden they wake up and say, man, maybe Jeremy is right about price. And so that's something that has to happen over what? Multiple different times over and over and over the right way. And it has to be multiple chess moves of me moving the pieces on the board before we ever get there. Does that make sense? Now, I'll tell you, the last thing I want you guys to do is wait 2 more months so this thing expires. And all of a sudden you realize after it expires and you talk to somebody else, they're going to say the price is lower. And guess what you're going to do? Lower the price $15,000. Meanwhile, we already missed the season. And now you got to drop it $20,000. And so just sell those third-party stories, but it happens. If you watch every single listing that we expire, go look them. They'll list somebody else and they drop the price almost every single time. Why? Because that person had more influence over them. And so that's what I want you guys to understand. Look, it's very important to understand that you guys can get this piece done and get this part handled. Next thing here. This is where you guys fold the most. What do you think it is?
You're saying me.
Huh? Do what?
Is that my name?
Yeah, I just right.
Most people call it applying.
Colliding. Right? Because why? It's uncomfortable, right? The reason I say that is because you and I had a discussion about this a couple weeks ago, right? So, we have to be willing to do what? Collide with them. And it's okay to collide if I've done what? Pre-frame them in the beginning that I'm going to collide with them. You guys see what I'm saying? So like when I tell you here's what's going to happen, here's what's going to happen, it happens that way. And so the reality is here, you have to make sure that you set yourself up to be able to collide based on how you communicate in the beginning. And that's why I made the entire thing up in the presentation. It says, hey, look, the number one thing that's most important for me to do here is for you guys to know is that unlike other agents, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Is that okay with you guys? And so that means us having tough conversations sometimes to get to the right outcome that's best for you guys. Are you guys cool with me doing that in this process? Yes. Perfect. When that time happens, I'll let you know. And then what I do, hey, remember when we first met, that time in the office, I told you I was going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear? Yes. Now is one of those times. Is that okay with you if I'm direct with you? Yes. Boom. Whatever it is. You guys with me? Very, very important piece that we have that scenario there. So, I wrote this first part. I must master collision with love. The earlier I collide, the easier it is to do. Now, if I'm colliding with them and they're flipping out on me and getting angry with me, what does that tell me? I'm doing it wrong. And so that means I need to get better at how I do it. Well, how do I do that? I record it and I listen to it so I can go back and figure out, okay, what I need to do. Most times it's going to be bad tonality. I just want you to know I care about you and I care about the outcome.
I've never heard somebody get all pissed off after it, because if I say that, they can't get mad.
Yep. So
I care.
I say, hey, I just want you to know I care about you and I care about the outcome. And I take this job very personally. And so I feel like I'm representing you guys, in every part of this. And so I remember earlier when we first met, I told you I need to tell you what I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Okay, now is one of those times that's okay with you. And so, like I mentioned, I care about you and the outcome, but we're way, way off on price, right? We just got feedback today that the people who were going to look at your house actually bought a new construction house in your neighborhood for less money than you're priced for right now. And remember earlier I told you I was good, but I'm not a magician? Like, that's magic work if I was able to do that. So let me ask you this. If you get a brand new house in your same exact neighborhood that no one ever lived in, no one ever touched in, no one's feet have ever touched the floor, right? None of it ever happened before, for less money than this house, would you buy it? Yes. Yeah. And they go, look, let's just be real. If you get the same exact house, similar floor plan, brand new, never been lived in, oh yeah, by the way, they have an $8,000 lender credit for less money than yours, you don't think they're going to buy that first? Well, let me tell you what, even though you don't feel like they do, even though you don't feel like they will, guess what? They do. How do we know that? They just did. I just sent you the feedback where they told us they did that. This happened when? I'm not sure who was listening to that. Was that there's one it just came in yesterday. They didn't make it to the showing because they bought a new construction in the same neighborhood for less money. And I think it said similar floor plan. Is that one of you guys? You guys see that one? So anyways, it's somebody's here. And so guess what? I see that, what I do? I see that as an opportunity to collide. So the minute I read that feedback, I send it to them and I pick up the phone and say, look, we got to have a conversation. And so now I know I can have that collision with love, and I use that leverage before they're turning on me. And I say, hey, remember you told me earlier you can communicate with me however you want and be open and honest with me. Feel free. Let me know your thoughts on this, how you feel. Because I'm just going to get back to the facts of it. Is like, I'm really, really good at what I do, but there's no way I can be expected to help sell people a used house for more money than they can buy a brand new one right down the street. Would you agree? Well, no. Okay, well, let me ask you this. If I can go to a Mercedes dealership and I can get a brand new 2024 SL500 for less money than I can buy a 2020 SL500, which one do you think I want to buy? Well, you got rims on yours, a 2020. I don't give it, right? Because I got a brand new one that's brand new. Right? So, yeah. But that's my point. They're going to be like, well, I got granite countertops. I got this, right? And say, hey, look, that totally makes sense. But regardless, no matter what type of rims you put on that Mercedes, it's still 2024 versus 2020. Would you agree? Yes. Which one's a buyer going to take 100 times? That one. Okay, so if that's our number one competitor, we got to get this price down below the other one. And I help them do that through self-discovery, through me looking for the opportunity to collide right here. You guys with me on this? And so it's very, very important. I want you guys to just take that in a lot in that scenario. Second piece here. I cannot get weak. This is the silent killer for everyone. I've done this multiple times. And I paid the price for it exponentially. So you know you should do it. You know you should make the call. You should have followed back up with them where I didn't call them in 2 weeks like I was supposed to. And I know I need to call them. Now they called in pissed off. What do I got to do? I got to fix it. I got to reach out to them. And I got to say, hey, whatever it is, whatever their problem is, I got to make sure I do. I want you guys to write this down. Action cures fear. Action cures fear. If you're scared about something, you just count to 3, 2, 1 and make sure you do it. The only way to cure fear is through action. Third part of this. I want you guys to always be staying 3 steps ahead. When you're brand new, you're not really going to notice it as much, but as you get some experience, you know the problems are going to come up ahead of time. So what I got to do? I got to get ahead of it and talk about it before it gets there. So like I was telling you guys, if I'm the pilot and I talk about, hey, look, we're about 10 minutes into the flight, we're going to see a little bit of weather, we may see some turbulence. Don't worry, it's not too bad. I'm going to turn the seatbelt sign on. We'll ride through it. It's only going to be about 10 minutes. Everything will be good. What did I think when I'm the passenger? Okay. Right? No problem. Cool. This turbulence is kind of fun. It's going to be all right. But if he doesn't say anything or she doesn't say anything and I all of a sudden hit turbulence, what do I think? This is crashing, right? It is what it is, right? So your client feels that it's crashing because you're not pre-framing them on what's going to happen next and how to handle it. I can't tell you I travel a lot, right, for just conferences and everything else. The one thing that drives me crazy in the airline is when the pilot doesn't talk. Like they should get on there at the beginning and tell, hey, look, I'm so-and-so captain. Hey, I'm your captain. Here's what our plane is. It's 72 degrees in Myrtle Beach, whatever it is. We're going to have a pretty smooth flight. Winds out of the southwest at 5 miles an hour. Whatever it is. And then all of a sudden they get on there, hey, we just hit cruising altitude. Everything looks like a pretty smooth flight. We may see some turbulence in about 10, 15 minutes. If so, I'll let you know, and we'll pop the seatbelt on. And all of a sudden you think, wait, this is a great flight. But if they don't have anything, you think it's really a flight. And it makes or breaks a difference, just like your client experience with you does the same exact thing. And what does the pilot think during turbulence? No big deal, right? Every day. But we don't do it every day. And so that's why you have to look at it like they do in a way where even though they think it's pretty simple, they already know their whole flight. They don't even really drive the whole plane once they take off. Everything's an autopilot. Their job is to get up there and do what? Communicate with us what to look out for, what roadblocks and bumps are ahead.